Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 419, F9, lap 15. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Digital Deck Covers. Check out Digital Deck Covers for all of your dust covers for Brother printers and scanners. Shout out to digitaldeckcovers.com.
Well, shout out to digitaldeckcovers.com and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. Joe, before I introduce our guest, I've got to say, as a preview for next week, get ready for a lot of Vin Diesel working out on Instagram. Every day there's more than one. He's just like, look how ripped I am now. Look how swole I'm getting.
He needs to get over that Fuel Fest. He needs to get over that Fuel Fest video.
Every time I open Instagram, there's a new Vin Diesel working out shirtless picture or video or both or whatever. Just get ready. Because, I mean, it's probably 3, but still, that's so many.
That's a lot.
With us tonight, we are recording after dark. This is not a Too Fast, Too Forever after dark, but we are recording it in the evening. With us, we have a film professor and director of IU Cinema, friend and colleague of previous guest Britt Freeze. We have Alicia Kozma. Hello, Alicia.
Hello. How are you all doing?
Very well. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Very excited to talk about this. All the things we're going to talk about.
When we had Britt on earlier, I think it was earlier this lap, I didn't look, but like not too long ago, she was telling us a little bit about you and how you were a fan and how you put on this like Fast and Furious thing. And so we always love finding out from our guests, what is your history with the Fast and Furious? I guess also like, what's your history? Like, how does Britt fold into this? What have you guys done at IU? What's your relationship between you and the Fast and Furious franchise?
Okay, great question. So I am a film professor, as you said. I'm also the director of Indiana University Cinema, which is an art house theater on Indiana University Bloomington's campus. But we're also an academic unit, so we do both. So we do movies for the public, and we also do intellectual and cinema studies work and public education for literally everyone. So anyone who wants to come is welcome. I have been working at IU Cinema it's going to be about 4 years.
Cool.
And Brittany, who was your previous guest, is the managing director. So she and I work together on programming and ideas and all sorts of fun stuff. One of the things we bonded on pretty early is that we both really loved Fast and Furious. And I told her a story about how I used to teach class, and I still occasionally do. It's entertainment industry studies, which is exactly what it sounds like. What is the industry of film and television like? What are all the things you need to know if you want to work in it? What are some great case studies to understand how the industry works? One of the case studies that I used that my students were always totally blown away by was Fast and Furious, because I love the franchise. I almost uniformly love the movies. And It's actually one of the best contemporary representations of the way that Hollywood blockbuster filmmaking works, both domestically and internationally.
Yes, that is something we have talked about a lot as well. Yep.
100%, right? And so, in truth, for all of the hate, I feel like that Fast and Furious as a franchise can get from just a general audience, what is really undervalued is how impactful they've been to the blockbuster filmmaking industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to do a conference about blockbuster films, and to kick off that conference about blockbuster films, we did a 2-day marathon of all Fast and Furious movies, because they really epitomize so much of what contemporary blockbuster filmmaking is, and frankly should be. They were really ahead of the curve in considering how blockbuster filmmaking is an international endeavor, not just so we make it in Hollywood and we ship it out all over the world. It is something that speaks to global audiences with global themes in a global time frame on a regular basis. And quite frankly, no one has done that better than Fast and Furious. So I think it was during our conference that Brittany kind of popped up on your radar. And so we come at it from absolutely a similar place of love, but very, very dissimilar motivations. She is 100% a hardcore fan of the franchise. I am also a fan of the franchise, but I really use the franchise in my teaching work, in my programming work, in my cinematic work, as an example of how global film can work in really good ways that doesn't devalue audiences, that doesn't talk down to people, and that actually encourages a really wide diversity of experiences, of stories, of countries, of ethnicities, of races, of everything. Fast and Furious gets a lot of hate, but it truly is a beacon for what blockbuster filmmaking can be doing, and people need to take it more seriously. Hence why I'm talking to you guys tonight.
Love it. We have talked to so many different kinds of people, and I mean that in exactly the way that you're talking about, where it's people who are just fans, it's people who are new to the franchise, it's people who think about it critically, think about it in terms of education. And we haven't had too many educators on, too many people and we've had a lot of people who have written about it and done essays. We had 3 people from the other side of the pond who edited together a series of essays into a book. But it's always interesting, and I love the idea, and I wish that I was in a position of power where I could be like, hey, here's a thing I love, and that is important, and that actually has merit. I'm going to make you watch it. Because we can just we can just put this out into the world and be like, if you like it, here it is for you. But it's not like we're in a position where it's like, hello, captive audience, here's why the Fast and Furious is good and important.
So I'm so glad that you said that, because some of the most rewarding experiences I've had in classrooms have been making students watch Fast and Furious.
That's so awesome.
It really is. It's incredible. And I kind of just probably naively assumed that they have seen these films, but for the most part, they're coming to these totally fresh. And I have to say, it's not like we're, starting at the beginning. My go-to was Fast and Furious 6.
Okay. Good point, yeah.
Yeah, 6 was the one that I showed to most of my classes when we were talking about this. But I remember I was legitimately teaching a class at the University of Illinois that had 495 students enrolled in it. And I said, sit down in the seater. We're watching Fast and Furious 6.
Love it.
That's so awesome.
And the number of comments I got 2 days later when we came back to talk about the film of, I didn't know they were this good. I had no idea this is what they were like. I drove home so fast after class last night, to which I was like, wait, please don't do that part. I can't be responsible for you, Fast and Furiousing, down a highway in a college town. It was one of the most impactful screenings because, again, these films have been around for so long, for quite frankly, and it's terrifying to say, for some of these students, for their whole lives.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna wonder, the age that you're teaching students at an undergrad level, these movies have been around their entire lives at this point. So it's weird to hear that you're saying that some of the students come in with no exposure at all, but at the same time it's it would kind of make sense. They're their dad's movies or something, right?
Absolutely. They're just films that they, it's kind of and it's another weird thing to think about, millennials now who came to Star Wars for the first time, with the prequel franchise. Right? They're just, kids who were born 3/4 of a way through Fast 1 through 10.5.
We are obviously, I think, too close to this to really have an objective view, but it feels like the fandom is real, but also maybe smaller than it could or should be. But and I think you mentioned this early in your sort of ramp up, the blowback and hate to it is sort of outsized or oversized. People are like, can't believe they're making another one of these, where it's well, there's 37 MCU movies now. There's 11 of these. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's just not your cup of tea, but I don't know. Anyway.
To your point, though, I do think a lot of the blowback and the hate is presumptive. It's people who haven't watched the films.
Right.
And I do think, as a general movie-going audience, we are at a point in our cultural lives where if we see, the suffix 7, 8, 9 after a movie title,
Mhm.
we now just think it's tired, it's old, they're beating a dead horse, there's nothing here for me.
I had this idea and I pitched it to Joe that each lap, so this is the 15th time through the movies, we have a different theme. And I have this idea that I want to do a lap for each number in the franchise. So it's like, this lap we're watching all like 7th movies in a franchise or whatever. But like, to your point, there's very few that are like 7. Like Furious 7 is 7, but like the 7th MCU movie is like the Avengers or something. So like there's a little bit of like, or like there's like 30 Bond movies, but there's no Bond 7 or Elvis 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think it is something that is very strange. Like, I still want to do it, but it's much easier to do 1, 2, 3, 4 than it is, 5 and beyond. Even though to me, and I think maybe to most people, 5 and beyond is what's interesting because, like,
I mean, 5 and Beyond is what made this the most successful, one of the most successful film franchises that currently exists, quite frankly, right? But I mean, to your point, Joey, like when I was like, oh, I'm going to rewatch F9, and I went, wait, what is F9 called?
I did this all morning. Yes.
Yeah. And then when I like IMDb'd it really quickly, and I was like, F9, the Fast Saga?
The Fast Saga. Mm-hmm.
The Fast Saga. I was like, in no way, shape, or form did that penetrate my memory that this was, like, Fast and Furious 9 was F9, the Fast Saga. So, like, the marketing of it, the branding of it, like, it can be a real deterrent, and I think for this franchise it is.
This is a thing that we track, and Joe, can you please pick up your little scrap of paper? I think this comes from Vin Diesel running his mouth on red carpets, but Joe, can you please let Alicia and our audience know the total, to date, list of titles for the final movie, which again is coming out in almost 2 years.
Oh my God.
Fast X2, Fast X Part 2, hashtag Fast Finale, and hashtag F11 is what we got so far, not including Los Bandoleros 2 and Los Bandoleros Dos, which Vin has both said.
So these are all just things that Vin is posting about on Instagram. He's called the next
The
movie.
F9 one was incredible. That during that run, he also had 5 or 6 names for it running up to that. And on the red carpet as it was coming out, he called it 4 or 5 different things.
Yeah. So if you go back to like our first episode about this, like we recorded like an intro, like an immediate reaction to this, and then like a 3-hour episode the night after it came out. I think whatever we called it then is not the actual title.
No, we used the movie ticket title.
We saw the movie. We're like, we think it's called this. Like a movie we'd seen that is out, that we had consumed the way you're meant to consume a movie. We're like, we don't know what it was called.
I mean, it is like, they legitimately do have like a branding problem. Yeah. Because to your earlier point, no one says, oh, I'm watching Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is actually MCU 700.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, do you know what they are called in England?
I don't. What are they?
The Fast and the Furious 1, the Fast and the Furious 2, the Fast and the Furious 3, the Fast and the Furious 4, the Fast and the Furious 5.
So wait, but how does that negotiate with the chronological switch for Tokyo Drift?
You know what? We've never considered that. I don't know. I think
that's
it's just
super interesting.
It must be titled in release order, not chronological order. It's like actually the Fast and Furious 3 comes chronologically after Fast and Furious 6. It's like, well, that doesn't make any bloody sense. So Alicia, what was the first movie you saw? Did you see it in theaters? Did you see it at home? Like what was your introduction to the Fast and Furious?
This might be like too film history deep cut, but truly my introduction to the Fast and Furious was watching the original 1954 Roger Corman Fast and Furious movie.
Okay.
So I'm an exploitation girly from way back. Love me some Corman. Love a lot of 50s, 60s, and 70s exploitation films. And that was my introduction to Fast and Furious. That remains my peak Fast and Furious film. The Urtex, Corman's 54 version. So much so that when the first 2 came out, I totally dismissed them.
Okay.
I totally dismissed them as just like another kind of like lame remake, ripoff, whatever. I was absolutely guilty of things that I say people are guilty of now for the rest of the films. I dismissed them because they weren't like the original Corman 54 version. Truly, the first one I saw, and it remains one of my favorites to this day, was Tokyo Drift.
Amazing. Do you see it in a theater?
I saw it in the theater.
Beautiful.
I was dating someone at the time that was very much into it. I wanted to go see Tokyo Drift. I did it like as a concession. I thought it was just like, going to be a one-off and an hour and a half or two that I spent in a comfortable theater seat. No big deal. And honestly, if you put a movie in a movie theater, I'll probably go see it regardless of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If I can see it in a theater. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I went back and I watched the other two and I said I was so stupid for having disregarded these other two in the first place. And like, I will say this, like to this date, I actually don't think 1 and 2 are anywhere close to the best examples of the franchise, but they're formative to what the franchise became.
Sure. Yep.
So it was like me and the person I was dating at the time and like 5 other people watching Tokyo Drift in like the AMC in Union Square in New York City.
Oh,
and
nice.
I fell in love with it. Yeah. I absolutely fell in love with it. And then I went back and then I was just like fully hooked.
So now that we have gotten that established, can you please hit us with your rankings of the movies, either from favorite to least favorite or least favorite up? If you want to like build suspense going to the top, or if you think the top is easy and boring and you have the certain ones that everybody says at the top, you want to work your way down, whichever way you want to go, can you please hit us with your rankings of these films?
I will apologize ahead of time if this is not in the spirit of what you guys do every week, because I am like, I'm not a big fan of ranking stuff.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Like, I think everything needs to be considered in its own constellation, in its own universe, in its own particular contribution to the franchise. But I'm just going to tell you the ones that I like, and the ones that I love, actually, and the ones that I do not choose to revisit.
That's fair.
I will say my all-time favorite one that I could watch over and over and over again is Fast 6.
Okay.
World's Longest Runway. Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Like, I love the terrible acting. I mean, I love all of it. I love every single thing about it. So for me, it goes 6, 3, 5, and 3 is like sentimental. It's like 6, 3, 5. Mm-hmm. I think 1 is the one I choose to revisit less.
Okay.
2 would be the one I choose to revisit probably about the same amount as 1.
Okay.
I think 9, which I know we're talking about today, is just like fully not even a movie. So
okay.
It does not even feature on my ranking.
Okay.
And then the rest of them, I think about truly as like a continuum. I don't differentiate between them.
Okay. Fair.
I know that that's not helpful to like the conceit of
Everything's
ranking
helpful.
them.
Everything's helpful.
But like it is, I am so like nothing makes me happier than watching Fast and Furious 6. Truly.
Like what is special about this is that we have now gotten rankings from 105 different people. No two are the same. There are definitely trends, but especially now as there's more and more, like if we had done this after 5 or after 6, like I'm sure there'd be a lot of repeats just because there's not that many different combinations. But now there's people saying like, I don't count Hobbs and Shaw. Oh, I haven't seen the new ones. Oh, I don't like that. Whatever. I like that yours like F9 is not a movie. I don't count it. It's not on my list. It's not a thing we've had before, but I appreciate that there is something different and special about your rankings.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we'll get into it, but like F9 not being a movie, well, whatever, we'll talk about it. I was watching it again and I was totally thrown back. So F9 was the very first film that I went back to the movie theaters to see after COVID.
Us too.
Yeah,
100%.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This movie will always have a very special place in my heart because of that. It allowed me to do the thing that gives me more joy than anything in the world, which is watching a movie in a theater. And I have never had more fun than watching F9 in a theater with other people. Like people yelling at the screen and laughing, people jumping up out of their seats and applauding. Like, it was an incredible experience. And it will hold a special place. I will never forget that's the film I saw after the first film that brought me back to the theater after COVID. But when I went back and watched it, I was like, this is not actually even a movie, but I still love it.
I'm pretty sure I've said this on here before, but F9 was definitely the first movie that because I think there was some, like, I felt safe going back, but I was like, I want to wait and make it like a special occasion.
Yeah.
But I remember the night before lockdown, Thursday, March 12th.
Oh my God.
I had tickets to see both Bloodshot and The Hunt. And I was the only person literally in the entire theater who had bought a Bloodshot ticket. And I'm just like, there's this thing out there that I might get really sick. I'm like, but I'd be alone. And I literally left my house in the car and I got like a block, just like a minute from my house. And I was like, no, I'm not going to die for Vin Diesel's Bloodshot. And then it was out on VOD, like, a week or two later or whatever. We watched it, we covered for the podcast. But I was just like, no, I can't do that. So my last movie was almost a Vin Diesel movie. And my first movie was almost
You almost got bookended by Vin. Yeah.
As it, which that would truly have been iconic, but I do believe you made the right decision.
Well, do you remember in February of 2020, so like a month before lockdown began, they had Super Bowl weekend in Miami. They had a big launch party for the Fast and Furious with, like, who was there? Was it Tyrese was there? Maybe Vin was there. And Cardi B was there.
Luda.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we're so excited for this movie that's about to come out. And then, a year and a half later, it finally came out. But we're like, this is such a weird, awkward, like, relic.
I think they even said, like, Justice for Han, like, at the end of it. Like, they were, like, pitching it.
But let me throw this idea out to you guys, and you tell me what you think. I actually think F9 is better served coming out when it did, based on the structure and the function of the film, in this, like, kind of, like, reopening, everyone feels comfortable, like, not post-pandemic, but, like, moving into a more recognizable present than we had been in. Because when I went back and I rewatched it, when I say it's not a movie, I mean, obviously it's like formally and functionally a film, but like when you think about the components of a film and like a throughout structure and a hero's journey and like all that shit, this movie is primarily an exercise in nostalgia and comfort.
Okay.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
It is a lot of montage sequences connected with whatever contemporary like trap or hip hop was popular at the time that is moving you through anonymous spaces to get to familiar characters that make you feel warm and fuzzy, that remind you of a better special time, and everyone comes together at the end. I think if this movie had actually come out in 2019 or 2020 pre-pandemic, it would have read entirely differently than coming out when it did. When you could go to the theater, you could be in a comfortable experience. You didn't need to worry about the fact that there's almost functionally no real story to this movie. There's no real dialogue in this movie that's not either over exposition or a complete and utter lack of exposition. There's weird anonymous families. It was essentially, I want to see my old friends who have made me feel good in the past, and now I'm getting to a place where I can feel good again.
I love that.
I do not think this movie would have hit the same if it didn't come out post-pandemic when it did.
We've never contextualized it in the space of when it released, and I was having similar thoughts about the construction of the film as we watched it this time for not the 15th time, but maybe the 15th time. How did we do it, Joey? Did we do F9 like 6 times in a row or so? So this might be the 5th. Okay, either way, like a bunch of times. I was
thinking about this day. I've logged this on Letterboxd 13 times already, which is bananas, because I think we did
incredible.
It was the movie that we did so many times that Joe and I like took a step back. We're like, we need to figure out a new way to do this because we ruined this movie for us short term.
But yes, the construction of it, I think you're hitting the nail on the head of something that I never ever considered, which is like, yes, there is no real story, but at the same time, with stuff reopening and us all saying this was our first trip back to the theater, it was so comforting just seeing the people that we knew, that we enjoyed it in the moment, because you're like, oh, and for us, we all went as a group of friends re-meeting together at the same time, so like it fit and it hit then. But yeah, now looking back on it, you're like, and you're right, if this would have come out in 2020, I don't think this would have been very well received.
Yeah, it was just something that struck me when I was watching it, because I had such like a warm, like affective memory of being back in the theater again, finally. Being back with a bunch of strangers who were just really excited about seeing the same thing that I was seeing, hearing people yell and scream at the screen and get excited and clap and laugh, and have that be facilitated by these fictional characters who just felt really comfortable and just kind of felt like a really nostalgic but also sweet kind of memory of the before times. And it just like, then the times that I've rewatched it, and I've rewatched it probably like 2 or 3 times since, it just that kind of really emotional investment, I don't think was there because it was out of time with the contemporary moment. And it kind of struck me that I was like, this is really the perfect, like, welcome back kind of movie.
I'm glad that you positioned it like this, because I was talking to Joe today, and a thing that we talk about a lot on the show, because it's, as you can imagine, it's sort of harder to get guests for later movies, because people are like, oh, I've only seen the first couple, like, I can't do 9. It's like, well, you can do 9. Like, theoretically, in theory, again, very heavily in theory, each of these movies should operate as the ability for this to be their first Fast and Furious movie.
100%.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, our guest for Fast 10, we're doing it 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, has never seen, I think, any Fast and Furious movie, like, which is going to be crazy. So it's going to be like, what did you think of the 10th installment? Which I think, again,
I love that. I love that happening. Yeah.
I actually think that's incredible.
So I was watching this yesterday and being like, at what point in the franchise did they make the decision that, like, we're not going to just tell a simple story. We are going to do a second timeline to talk about Dom's dad. We're going to throw out there the idea of saving Mr. Nobody and never actually come back to that. We're going to introduce Dom's brother, who, by the way, he's had a brother for 9 movies. You don't know about that.
Yep.
We're going to bring back fan favorite character Han.
From the dead.
To sort of do a sequel to Tokyo Drift in a way. We're going to bring characters literally to outer space and address the biggest fan theory that's been going around for years. And also we're going to bring back Deckard Shaw in a post-credit scene to kind of do the thing that we've been teasing for years but didn't actually get to in Justice for Han. And I was thinking about, that's so much. That is so much to do.
Not excluding, like, a note that I have, like, how the hell did we bring Brian back at the end and then also not touch on that in 10?
Yep.
So, like, they bring Brian back too, which is a huge fucking point, you know?
And also, like, most of what I just talked about is not the plot.
Nope.
No, it's all the ancillary stuff around the plot. And I don't even know if I would call it the characterization either, right? I mean, it's kind of interesting the way that you just put that, because it makes me think that, I mean, you're right. Nothing is complicated about Fast and Furious in terms of, like, basic plot story devices. Anyone should be able to watch any Fast and Furious movie and, like, be excited by it, enjoy it. No one's going to be, like, scratching their head wondering what's happening. It's a basic Hitchcock plot. We have a MacGuffin. We have to try and get it. And here are all our adventures trying to do it, right? It's, like, the most basic kind of thing that anyone should be able to enter into. And so now you're making me think of F9 as something that is both simultaneously, like, operating on 2 registers. One as fan service, because everything you just said is fan service. And that's, listen, no hate on fan service. I am a fan. Service me. Like, I am 100% there with it. But then it's also, it feels like a throwing everything at the wall to bring new people into the franchise. So what, you don't like Vin Diesel? Like, you don't like fast cars? Maybe you'll resonate with this, like, emotional family backstory. Or maybe you're going to be really excited when Han comes back. Or maybe you'll like the idea of an orphan girl who's been raised by a kindly assassin and thief. You know what I mean? So it really operates on 2 registers to kind of bring everybody in. But I also do think that something has to do with the fact that this is the first film that Justin Lin directed since 6.
Yeah.
Like, he wants all of his, like, friends and stories and pieces. Yeah, he wants all of his toys back to play with. And I will give that man any single toy he wants to play with in any single movie. Although I will say, what Nine does is emphasize exactly the fundamental flaw in Hobbs and Shaw.
Which is?
Truly, the only time any sexual chemistry has existed between any characters, right, in the Fast and Furious universe
that isn't Dom and Brian.
That isn't Dom and Brian. Is Vin Diesel and Helen Mirren.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. When they reconnect in F9, I was like, where is this rom-com? I would watch this shit out of this heist rom-com with Vin Diesel and Helen Mirren. They are the only characters in this universe that have any sexual chemistry with one another. And when I go back and watch Hobbs and Shaw, it is particularly when you compare it to Diesel, like Van and Helen Mirren, the total androgynous sexlessness of The Rock, while simultaneously having to shoehorn it into some type of manufactured chemistry with Vanessa Kirby, is like actually painful to watch.
Yeah, we've talked about that recently, and the like black hole of someone who is or who was, because we've sort of soured on him, so charming for so long, and everyone loved him, he could do no wrong, and yet he comes across on screen like none of his characters have ever had sex.
You're absolutely right. Every single character he has ever played. And nowhere is, frankly, that more apparent than in the HBO show Ballers, where he is supposed to actually be a sexual being, and it is as if he has never encountered a lustful or horny thought in his life or another human being.
I didn't watch enough Ballers to agree, but I can agree on all the movie fronts that we've seen for sure.
It's wild.
Like, even we just watched Southland Tales. Have you seen Southland Tales?
Oh, iconic Richard Kelly. I love it. It's criminally underrated. Very happy to hear you guys watched it.
He is literally in a relationship with a porn star, like in the world, right? Sarah Michelle Gellar plays a porn star.
Yeah.
And it still feels like they've never had sex, which we didn't talk about in the episode, but it feels like, what is going on here?
They've never had sex, but also that it's also never even crossed his mind that they should have.
Before that Hobbs and Shaw came out, our longtime theory was that The Rock was the only gay character in the Fast and Furious franchise, and they just weren't. And we actually were excited. We thought that in Hobbs and Shaw, we're like, what if they sneak in a boyfriend on The Rock? Mm-hmm. Like, this would be awesome.
I would love that, because that would give him some type of like physical desire that's past just like Hulk smash. But if anything, and I mean, maybe they have, if we consider like the spectrum of queerness pretty broadly, like I find him to be maybe one of the only asexual characters that exists in blockbuster filmmaking.
That's a good point. That's a really good point that I never looked at. Yeah.
Well, because that's also a thing that we've talked about the franchise as a whole. And I mean, specifically, it's glaring in Hobbs and Shaw, because that wants to be a buddy cop comedy and like sort of a romantic thing, and it's just straight up not. Is this franchise goes out of its way to get handsome men and women into this movie, and like no one even tries to like the Ramsey Tej Roman stuff is like
it's
playground.
So
it's like playground teasing. Like it's not. There's nothing about it, and it seems by design, which is wild.
There's this great article, and I'm going to have to look up the name of the author, but I know what it's called Everyone is Hot and No One is Horny.
Ooh. It's about this franchise, or is it about more than Fast and Furious?
It's about blockbuster filmmakers, blockbuster films in general.
Okay.
So it's by Roisin Langian.
Because that also seems true of like, Tom Cruise movies too.
Yes, 100%.
Early on in his career, he was like horny as hell, and then all of a sudden, whether it's a Scientology thing or what, it's gone. Also true of like Will Smith and stuff too. Yep.
100%. So it's called Everyone is Beautiful and No One is Horny.
Okay.
Modern action and superhero films fetishize the body even as they desexualize it. And it's by someone named R.S. Benedict. 100% not an academic article. It's for a public audience, but it's essentially, when I watch Fast and Furious and when I watch Hobbs and Shaw, when I see just The Rock in general, this really speaks to me. It's about the idea that it is the body that is fetishized and not what the body can actually do with other bodies that plays into blockbuster filmmaking. So it's much more about the body as symbol than it is the body as actual body that like interacts with other human beings and other bodies and has desire and lust and chemistry and emotions as a way of flattening out characters so they fit in like very specific blockbuster archetypes.
Like the image at the top of that blog post is just Chris Evans in Captain America after he's been enhanced. It's like, yeah.
Yes, he's the perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. Man.
That
okay.
there is like literally, I mean, the decrease in general of just horny movies is criminal, but that every blockbuster has been desexed in a way to instead eroticize violence instead of eroticizing like lust and sex and physical attraction is a fucking crime.
Yeah.
That's why, what was, again, not to bring her up because it feels like, you know, she is the name on everyone's lips these days, but the Sydney Sweeney movie that came out a couple years ago where it was an erotic thriller, The Voyeurs, which was like, I think, an Amazon Prime original movie. Like, the movie was fine to good. It wasn't great, but it's just like, they don't make this movie anymore. Like,
that's the thing. And that was like with the Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas movie, the name I'm blanking
Deep Water.
Like, Deep Water.
That should have been way hornier, and then they broke up before it came out, and then both their lawyers like sued the shit out of that, so that like the whatever actual sexy version didn't come out.
Absolutely, but like the hornier version of that would have been the type of like quote unquote erotic thriller that we got all throughout the 80s and all throughout the 90s that has simply just died, and there's this like big void without having that, and it sucks.
Yep.
The chemistry that they have sparked between Vin Diesel and Helen Mirren. That is a fucking franchise in and of itself.
Well, Joe has noted that Vin Diesel just loves older women, like as an actor, as a person.
Older men, Michael Caine the other day, too.
He just feels at home. So, you know, we got Rita Moreno for a scene in 10. We've got Helen Mirren here. I think he just loves older women, and so it kind of makes sense that, like, he's attracted to them as well. I don't know.
Yeah, and also he just seems much more comfortable on screen with her than with most other people he's on screen with.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know how it would be. I don't think it would be hard to be comfortable with Helen Mirren. She's like incredible, but there is like a very noticeable way in which his performance changes, his body language changes, his affect changes. He just seems like much happier when he's with her in these movies than when he's not.
He doesn't have to play as brooding.
Yeah, he doesn't have to move into his, like, 3 words, I am Groot, like, Vin Diesel mode of, you know, prepping for whatever the next chase or whatever the next fight is. He can just, like, be a dude.
Mm-hmm. So I imagine how this is sort of Tokyo Drift too. Like, at least the characters from Tokyo Drift are back here and they have a key part of the plot. Fast 10 is sort of Fast 5 too, because we go back to Brazil and we have Hernan Reyes' son. I do wonder if 9 was 3 and 10 was 2, will 11 be a sort of honorary sequel to another movie? Will it be the original, like a sequel to the original, a sequel to 4? Like, if they are going back to LA, because we know that Vin's all about shooting in LA, is it going to be the first, the 4th movie? Could it be Too Fast 2? Like, is it going to be Carter Verone back? Like, what if you had to make a bet, if you had to like strategically decide or guess what the next movie would be, sort of like an unofficial sequel to, which one would you pick?
Honestly, I'd pick 1.
Okay.
Truly, I would pick 1. I do not think it would be a sequel to 2 simply because it was like just not Vin related.
And
I really don't think
But 3 wasn't Vin related either, and this is kind of a sequel to 3, sort of.
Sort of, but like he's inserted himself into 3 in a way.
It's true.
In a way that he's never inserted himself into 2. I feel like when he thinks of Fast and Furious 2, like just nothing comes up in his brain. Like it's just like fuck.
I have a different thought though. I think that 1 is a really good guess, especially with him pushing how much he wants to go back to LA. But I think that they might make it a sequel to 7 and force the Brian reintegration.
Okay, so we need to talk about this. I've truly been dying to talk to you guys about this.
Please.
I cannot find a way outside of just like Vin's deep and abiding love for him to rationalize the fact that Brian is not dead in the films. Filmically, aesthetically, narratively, thematically, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Especially because you unfridge Mia.
Absolutely, 100%.
So it makes it worse.
It makes it worse that she comes back, right? It makes it 100% worse.
Because we could have wrote them into witness protection or something, right? Like
Absolutely.
that would have made way more sense.
Way more sense. Or even you're in a very dangerous business, and we have to talk about the Roman meta thing in F9. We got to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a very dangerous business, quote unquote. Like you do very dangerous things all the time, and it would be totally realistic if something terrible happened to you. And quite frankly, it'd be a great motivator for keeping the family together. Right? We lost one of our own. We can't lose anybody else. We have to stay together. We have to keep doing this crazy shit wherever they send us to.
Yep.
And so I can't stop thinking about the fact that having the last film in the franchise, quote unquote last, because who knows what that maniac will do, be a way to tie up the Brian storyline and actually have it, the end of the franchise, be a true and proper Paul Walker send-off. Not the digital Paul Walker in the car, waving as the sunset goes down, but like a true and proper Paul Walker send-off, which is why I can't let go of the idea that it will be like a one, like not sequel, but like quasi-sequel or like mirror a sequel, essentially.
To this franchise's credit and detriment, I think this is a superpower and also the big limiting factor. They are so loyal in every regard to everything.
Yes.
That means that none of the characters will ever die, but that also means that characters that quote-unquote died, we will see a surprise, quote-unquote surprise, triumphant return, like, oh, Han's not actually dead, Giselle's not actually dead, and like it's exciting in the moment, but it also gives each movie a lack of stakes. And it's the biggest benefit and the biggest detriment. And so you were right, like Brian should not be alive, he should not be like babysitting, but also I think Vin is just loyal to his friend and also to his friend's family, because the only thing we keep hearing is that the Walker estate wants Brian to come back, and cynically we're just like, oh, because you want money.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you, what was your experience, emotional experience when Giselle came back? Because I understand why they bought Han back. I understand it cynically from a business standpoint. I understand it because he was really a beloved character from an audience standpoint. Did you care when Giselle came back?
In the moment, yeah.
But it also feels like we assume that she would be back, because Joe plays by the rules, the Game of Thrones rules. If you don't see a body, she's not actually dead. For sure.
And we never saw a body. She just disappeared.
We never saw a body. I will say that surprised me, because I didn't think it didn't feel like, as someone who calls himself a fan of these films, it did not feel to me like there was a big call from the fan audience to bring Giselle back. And it felt to me like the franchise feeding into maybe all of, or some of the worst impulses that its critics accuse it of having.
That's fair, but I also think they're kind of gearing up for an ultimate. They're trying to do their end game, I think. That they want everyone back to do the Wakanda scene end game situation. Will it work? I don't know. And I also think that when we were talking about giving an ending to Brian, how do you put that into, they're currently on a dam that's exploding. Giselle is back. We have to send Brian off for the second time, rightfully, that gives the fans a good closure. We're getting to a point where everything that we did and were talked about in the beginning of this movie, all the fan service is so big. How can you make a film that accomplishes everything that you need to do?
That's such a good question. Do you think they set themselves up for a little bit of failure then?
Or they have to break it into pieces, and we get things that we talk about a mini series and the Letty movie and like these things, but they're not seemingly. It doesn't seem like Universal's trying to do that. It just seems like they want them to wrap it up and be done. I think that's part of the reason why this movie keeps getting pushed back or not shooting and stuff like that. Yeah, because I don't think they know how to like just wrangle everything into anything.
Or they're absolutely just fighting about the 2 to 3 approaches that they could possibly be taking.
Yeah. And they have to make a decision. Like, it's going to have to go one direction, and not everybody's going to be placated with what they get. I'm excited to see what they try to do. We've said every theory we can fucking imagine at this point, but I don't know which one is right and which ones they're going to keep and which ones they're not. So,
I mean, just that alone, that there is, and this isn't even like, I think, like a super deep level, like prognostication, but 4 films that I think on a like superficial and like general public level really get a bad rap. There's really a lot that's happening within them that speaks to not just the franchise itself, but like, at least for me, the way that we contextualize and think about our contemporary relationships, particularly in a post-pandemic world. Because I'm listening to you talk about this, and to me, there's a lot of like nostalgia and a lot of wish fulfillment in it.
Mm-hmm.
And who doesn't wish? Like I had seen Eddington, Ari Aster's new film at Cannes, and I watched it again when it came out. Both times, I had this overriding feeling like this movie is really interesting. It's got a lot to say. I absolutely don't want to remember what 2020 and 2021 was like. So, like, who doesn't want to reinvent themselves in, like, the wish fulfillment of their old friends, right? And have to not negotiate the way that they do or do not interact with what our contemporary realities are. One of the greatest things to this franchise, about this franchise to me, is that they almost exist out of time, with the exception of the like universally terrible outfits that they make the flag girls wear at all the races and the hyper contemporary scores. These movies are so universal, they almost exist outside of time. They could be anywhere, in any place, for any reason, and resonate with any viewer. And I think that's what part of the reason they're so successful.
The COVID thing is interesting. We just, I have another podcast I do with a different friend that's a book podcast, and we interviewed an author today about 4 of her books, including one that's a COVID book. But it's not about COVID. It's more about like the sense of like isolation and quarantine and like living in a world where something is happening, but you're kind of on your own or with a friend. And it's like a very interesting thing where, again, like Eddington, the conversation we were having is like, are we too close to it? Do people just not? Because it feels like there should be more of that kind of art out there, but also like we all live through it and we kind of don't want to live that. Or so, I don't know. You know, like it feels...
No, I think you're totally right. I think we're like truly right now still way too close to it. And I think that's why that I think that's why that film has had like kind of a difficult reception. No one wants to be back there. Like, we're way too close for it. We're way too close to it.
Yeah, and I think like I was also comparing it to like when Trump was elected, and I was like, there's going to be so much good art, and then like I think everyone was just overwhelmed and frustrated, and like no good art came out of it, and it's just like it's hard to. I think we're just too close to all of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I fully agree.
I want to. You mentioned this movie in comparison to Hobbs and Shaw and fixing the thing there. I think that there is also a comparison that, Joe, I don't know that we've ever talked about, but the beginning of this, the Montequinto action scene, like the Pelagros Jimenez, the landmines.
Yes.
Feels in line with the Samoa stuff, where it's like, it feels almost like Vin's like, hey, they shot in the jungle, we want to shoot in the jungle. It's like, because they don't do chases through the jungle, and then all of a sudden Samoa has this like cars and buggies through the jungle, and now it's like, well, we also have this in this movie too. And I don't know if that's like one leads to the other, but it feels possible.
I was thinking as I was watching this jungle scene that it actually doesn't feel very Fast and the Furious.
No.
Like, in some strange way, with its cars, it's them, it's everything, and it still doesn't feel like what we come to know or be comforted by in this franchise.
I totally agree with you because the overriding like reference point I had were rewatching the jungle scene was that scene in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull where they do the
Oh.
jungle chase scene.
Yep, the
That's
monkeys.
100% what
Mhm.
it feels like. It does not feel like Fast and Furious by any stretch of the imagination.
Which is so weird because it has all the pieces that you would normally have.
yes.
Well, because I also
yes.
think, like, I just watched today because I found the despecialized versions of the original Star Wars trilogy, and so I watched New Hope last week, and I watched Empire the other day, and I watched Return of the Jedi today, and, like, I don't love Return of the Jedi, and I think there's also the issue, and I think what it is, like, there's the whole, like, speed... There's, like, the speed chase through the forest where, like, there's, like, stormtroopers on these, like, little, like, sort of, you know, hovering carts or whatever, and, like, Luke and Leia are chasing them through, and there's whatever, it's, like, where the Ewoks are, it's an Endor. And I feel like the issue with that is also, and I didn't connect it to Fast and Furious or Alicia, to your point about Indiana Jones till just now, but I feel like we lose the reference point. Like, it's hard to see the danger or it's hard to see the speed when you're only comparing it to like stationary trees.
Yes.
Whereas if you're in like the Edinburgh stuff in this movie, I think is great. Like, I don't remember how good it is, but it feels like they're like Ramsey driving through with the big Magna truck, and like, even though that's crazy,
Yes,
like
that feels Fast and Furious.
there is stuff there
Yes.
that feels like, oh, we know a place, and we're able to see how fast and how dangerous it is. When you're just driving through the jungle and there's like landmines and stuff, it's like, okay, like there's not like a sense of the danger or I think more importantly the speed.
I think you're totally right. And what you're making me think of is being able to like articulate this feeling I had when I was watching it, which is a crazy thing to say about thinking about a movie directed by Justin Lin that has like car chases and action in it. But there's something about that jungle sequence that lacks like a kineticism that gets attached to Fast and Furious. It's kind of boring and it feels slow and it feels staged. It feels staged in a way that, even though of course we know everything they're doing is staged, it feels like very purposefully staged in a way that most of the in-city stuff does not. There is almost no time when I'm watching any movie in this franchise where I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. But this, I have seen that before.
Right.
And it really takes me out of it for that, I think. And it's, I mean, not in any way, shape, or form indicative of how, you know, Lin is normally directing these sequences. And so much of what is good about so many of these films is both what the kineticism and like how dynamic he makes these chase sequences, and like how that has radiated out into the sequences and, you know, films that he hasn't directed for the franchise. But this is really, and your comments are making me realize now, my big issue with this portion of the scene is like, I have seen this before and it's felt better and different before. Where I normally can never say that in a Fast and Furious movie.
I have a note that I took this time, and I think it plays into this perfectly. That I think that this movie kind of gets lost in the sauce, and something that we lose specifically in this one is that we don't get any really prep for the jobs. That we're kind of just in a frenzy moving. This one feels most to me like we're just moving from set piece to set piece. And the only like real, all of the scenes where we get like them testing the cars to the lap times, you know what I mean? And like trying to do without getting detected by the cameras and stuff like that. Like, we don't have one of those scenes here to build us up to get to the next set piece. They're just moving between action scenes here, and the only thing you have tying it together is like that little, like, all of them standing in that control room hiding, right? Like Jacob's old hideout or whatever. And I think that might also play into like why there is a lot of set pieces. They're interesting. Maybe the mines one isn't interesting. I don't feel like we need to be there because we haven't built up the need to be there or the tension to get to the point that they need to execute the plan that they built. It's just so much like, oh, just do the thing, do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. And they're getting there. Like, you get like a taste of all the Tokyo Drift guys like having the rocket car, and then that comes back into play, but they're not like building the rocket car to use in the movie. So I feel like this was something that I was like keyed in on when we were going through this watch, that I think that if we would have spent less time doing action in this one and a little bit more like designing of a plan, it would have felt better. It might have worked better in my head.
I 100% agree with you. And one of the things that I found myself doing, like my most recent rewatch of this, was asking myself questions that I almost never universally ask when I watch any Fast and Furious movie. Like, where did that car come from? How did they get there? Where are they? Like, a bunch of really basic, like, foundational, like, establishing shot questions just don't happen in this movie, because you're right, it really is just a bunch of set pieces tenuously connected by montage sequences. I'm not really sure what.
Well, I think this goes back to the earlier thing where the movies have to be too many things and too many people.
Yeah.
And you don't like Vin Diesel?
Totally,
Well, here's John Cena. You don't like John Cena? Well, here's Cardi B. You don't like Cardi B? Well, here's Helen Mirren. When it works, it's amazing because nothing else really does that. But like more and more often, not to be critical, because I feel like over the last like a couple of years, I think I personally have found myself being more critical of these than I want to be, just because I want to remain positive. But it feels like this thing that I love feels lost, and I'm just bummed by it. But
maybe this goes into, Joey, that like maybe Justin Lin didn't really want to fucking do this movie either.
It might not be. Oh, what I was saying before,
you know
is
what
that
I mean?
Joe had this idea that like F9 was going to be the start of a second trilogy. The same way that 4, 5, 6 was going to be a trilogy of Justin Lin did. 9, 10, 11 was going to be one. It's like, okay, 9 might not be great. Like, we think 9 is good. It's a perfect movie. Whatever.
We always gave it a pass because we were like, it's going to get sussed out and it'll be better in retrospect.
Right. Like, it was like a building block for a bigger trilogy.
Yes, the same way that 4 is good, but it just mostly sets the table up for 5, which is for the most part everyone's favorite, or 6. Joe was like, well, what if we think about 9 as like setting the pieces, again, the toys or whatever, and then having 10 and 11 be like the movies he actually wants to make. It's like, oh, wow. And then, a week into 10, he leaves. We're like, well, shit. So maybe now, if, who knows?
This is the stepchild, you know
Louis
what I mean?
Leterrier, was like, okay, well, here's sort of like a stepchild of Frankenstein, whatever. Like, here's a movie that like Justin Lin was making. I tried to make my own thing. Maybe the next one will be the movie that I really want to make, but also it feels like for budget reasons and for Vin reasons and for whatever
universal reasons. Yeah,
it's not going to be
universal reasons.
I don't know.
I mean, that's actually I love that idea. That's super interesting, and that makes me think about F9 in such a different way, as really like this really fertile canvas for a bunch of offshoots and new universes and new kind of like mini trilogies or mini franchises stemming from like the mothership, essentially.
That's always what I thought. That was the out that I gave it. Like, I was like, Justin Lin has an idea. He's going to drive us home. Just let him get through it and we'll figure it out.
I could really see that as having been like the part of the original idea for this franchise, and then just like the politics of it all kind of getting in the way. I love that idea. You should write those movies. You should write those movies.
No, I can't.
I do want to go back, because Alicia, you said something earlier, and I made a note of it, that the meta Roman thing. I made a note this time that I was very glad that they decided to reference, hey, these people take a lot of damage and don't actually get hurt. I like that they picked it up, examined it, and then basically have not returned to it. Again, it's only been one movie, but it feels like we gotta tip our cap. Like, these movies are crazy. These people should have died. They haven't died yet. We've done it. We're moving on. But I want to know, because you mentioned before about the meta Roman thing. Like, what's your take on that?
So I agree with you. I really like that they like pick it up. I don't think that in a film in which they literally drive a car into space, there was any way for them not to address just like the hyper unreality of these films. I actually love, and I know for like a lot of people it didn't work and they thought it was kind of like a cop-out, this like meta narrative that like Roman is advancing about them being like invincible superheroes. But it works for me. I think if I had like my druthers, I think would have worked even better is if they had only mentioned it once. Because there's a bunch of like, insert audience question here answers that they provide in this film that they only offer once, and that I think really work. like with the fact that John Cena is Dom's brother and that they look phenotypically like totally different people, right? They only answer that question once. There's like a bunch of those.
You mean when Charlize Theron is basically like, I never detected a Nordic strain. It's like
a Nordic strain.
You literally just said you've been tracking his family for like generations, and you never noticed that there is Nordic blood in any of the. Okay, sure.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, I never considered you may actually have been white. Is this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But part of multifacial is white, so he's everything.
Yeah. He's everything. He can do whatever he wants. But like, there's a bunch of those. There's like a couple of those that I think are actually super interesting, and they work exactly because of their brevity. It is one line that is addressing so passive, a lot of questions. It's like preempting the questions in and of themselves. And what I really appreciate about like the Roman meta narrative thing is that they do that. I just wish they had just done it once, because they don't do it long enough to contain the entire structure of the film. They don't do it enough to match the pattern of the other stuff that they just mentioned once. They mention it like 3 times, so then it becomes an outlier that you expect them to follow up on, and they don't.
I do, like, to that point, and I think it's, it's largely just because we do this show and we talk about these movies more than anybody ever really should talk about these movies, but I would love to see the, like, evolution of a screenplay or a script or a storyboard or whatever of these movies from initial idea to what we see on screen, because it feels like something like that, maybe, to your point, was a runner throughout. Maybe it was mentioned once, they added a couple more. Like, I wonder, because again, any big studio movie is going to get revised over and over and over again.
Of course.
But something like this, where there are so many cooks in the kitchen, and also Vin, and like whatever control he has, what does this look like?
Absolutely agree with you, because I just think, like, to be able to get our like hands on like iterations of this script, I think would just answer a lot of questions that this movie raises for me.
Yeah.
Like, part of the thing that, and everybody of course jokes about it, right? Like, oh, the family. But I actually do think there's something like not simply sentimental, but like deeply moving about the way that these characters are so connected to one another as a form of like both real and chosen family. And to me, the flashbacks in this to the death of Dom's dad are so anachronistic to the rest of the film, because the first thing this dude thinks after he learns about like one weird hairline crack in some hose in a car is that his brother killed his dad for no reason, no motivation, no nothing. It's almost like the antithesis of everything that he has been up to that point. And then it shapes his entire life. And I'm just like, what got left out of this that would have explained at least 5% of the motivation to be like, oh, my dad died in a car. My brother looked at the car. I guess my brother killed my dad.
Right.
That is not Fast and Furious logic by any stretch of the imagination.
This time I was very sort of regretful and bummed that they dropped this alternate timeline altogether. But the issue you're pointing out is not entirely in the 1989 timeline either. It's also a thing that, like, current day Dom is just like, no, I still hate my brother because he killed my dad.
Yes.
It's like, well...
Totally. It just seems really, like, off-kilter for the ethos of the films in and of themselves.
Yeah.
And I know, to your point of being able to see, like, script iterations and shooting scripts, there had to be something else there that we're just not getting. Because it also seems antithetical to the character of Dom in and of himself.
Because he loves family, except for family.
Except for his actual family. Like, I get it as a motivation for, like, recreating a family through a chosen family, mostly, obviously with the exception of Mia. But it does just seem like a limited allowance for, like, blood family, the way that his chosen family has like an ultimate allowance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have any other notes, other thoughts before we go to Alicia? Because I think
I just have...
Yes, go ahead.
I have like one thought that's mostly just a statement. I can't fucking believe we shelved Elle. Like, where is she? She was a good character
Emmy
starting
award-winning
out.
actress Anna Sawai. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We should absolutely have kept her, but no, we bring back Gal instead. Like, whatever.
I mean, talk about a character that could have launched a whole other franchise.
Yep.
Is Elle.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Alicia, who do you think is on... Joe, this could factor in here.
What?
Alicia, who do you think is on that submarine with Giselle at the end of 10? When she pops up out of the ice and Letty and Cypher there, who's on that submarine with Giselle?
Oh my God, I've never thought about this.
It's Elle and Noodle Grandma from Tokyo Drift.
I would truly love if it was Elle. I would love if it was Elle.
Our thing has been, it's probably Mr. Nobody. It's probably Brie Larson's character as well. Because there was also, and I think Joe like maybe mentioned it in passing earlier, possibly, but one of the rumored spin-off sequel, whatever thing, was a female or a Letty-led.
Vin has said that he was working on a Letty-led.
I mean, I would be shocked if that actually happened.
Exactly same. We don't even think we're gonna get 11
No.
at this point.
No, I mean, I am like anxious about the reality of getting 11. But just from like a fundamental like industry standpoint, Michelle Rodriguez cannot carry a film. She does not because of her talent, but she does not have the name recognition to carry a film that will cost whatever a Letty-led franchise would cost.
Yeah, but you throw in Vanessa Kirby, you throw in Elle, you throw in Gal.
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren is
Helen
like the...
Mirren, sure. Gal Gadot, right now, no.
yeah, fair.
No.
But what if she recognizes the state of Palestine in the Letty-led spinoff?
I mean, listen, if she did that, world peace is possible within our lifetime. I think if you reorganized it to be more of like an Ocean's 8 situation,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes, 1,000%. If you actually make it like a character ensemble and not like, sure, Letty is at the center, but it is not a Letty franchise with a bunch of supporting. If you actually do it like an ensemble, then I think you have the currency to make it happen. But Michelle Rodriguez alone, I do not think has the, like at this point, like the broad celebrity cachet to be able to carry the franchise that will cost as much as this would cost. Even one film that would cost as much as one film like this would cost.
And also, let us be clear, there is no way in the world that Vin Diesel would let them make this movie without him in it. So, like, he would be in it. He just wouldn't be
my God,
like,
he
the
would
top billed
absolutely
star.
be in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I have one more question just because I want to hear Alicia's thoughts on what it would be. Alicia, how do you think that we begin Fast 11? Does it begin where the movie let off of Fast 10?
Because as a reminder, Dom and Baby B are at the bottom,
of a dam that's exploding.
It's exploding, and
A
also
plane crashed.
the plane has Roman and Ramsey and Tej and maybe somebody else crashing.
And then we have the submarine with Gal and...
Yeah.
And also Hobbs is around.
I honestly think that it opens with a flashback.
Okay.
I 100% think it opens with a flashback.
To what?
So this is my actual dream. It opens to a flashback of young Mr. Nobody before he had the Mister.
Okay.
Okay? Because they're building this whole like infrastructure and mythos around him, and really all of this started when they went to look for him in 9 when his plane crashed and nobody went where he was. But there is some, to me, this would be incredible. And I understand this is also pulling a little bit from the most recent Mission Impossible, but I think it worked. So I don't know why it wouldn't work here as like a culmination to a franchise. There is something in Mr. Nobody's past that is a key to bringing all of this together and solving this puzzle. And so I think we open with a Mr. Nobody flashback.
Played by Wyatt Russell, his real life son.
I was going to say, with Wyatt
Perfect.
Russell with dyed hair,
Perfect.
or like even like a de-aged Kurt Russell that is better than the de-aging in the second Guardians. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And there is something in that is going to thread through and bring us to whatever the key is that wraps everything up. So I really wanted to open with a Mr. Nobody flashback, because there is something so unexplored in that character that I think has the ability to bring all of these strands together in like a really satisfying way.
I like that. I've never thought that.
Yeah.
I do want to. So this lap, Alicia, is our oops. We should have covered that already. So the pit stops, like the movies in between the Fast and Furious that we're watching, are movies that we should have covered that either star an actor or like feel Fast and Furious that we just haven't watched for whatever reason. But in the off weeks, I'm also going through the goofs section, just because oops and goofs, on IMDb about the movies and just seeing like what people have posted.
Yeah.
And there's one, Joe, I'm going to tease one for next week. In the plot holes section, there's a very simple one that just says, in the beginning of the film, they say they're going to find and rescue Mr. Nobody, yet they never do. And it's like, yeah,
they don't do it.
That's a pretty big plot hole. It's just like
that's a pretty big plot hole.
This movie sets up like Mr. Nobody was here, we got to find him, and then they're just like, you know what, we're just not going to. But like, don't set up your movie to do that then.
Yeah, you could just cut that whole part out.
You could cut it all out, but there's a perfect opportunity for them to really pull together 9, 10, and 11, or whether they're calling it 10 and a half, or 10 part 1 and 10 part 2, whatever it is, with that Mr. Nobody character.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, more Kurt Russell is always better than less.
Joe also has a theory that he's evil.
No. I mean...
You don't think so?
I don't think so. That would be... I mean, let's be honest, like that. I guess that would be kind of an easy out, but it feels like a kind of like an It Was All a Dream ending. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And they're so committed to this being like truly, like not real, but like really felt, that I don't think they would pull like just kidding, it was a dream, or like just kidding, it an evil twin, or like just kidding, he was bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to have you back sooner rather than later, because I feel like we have only just
Absolutely.
scratched the
surface of this.
But I do want to ask if there's anything specifically about F9 that you have not covered yet, or anything that you really want to like just get out of your brain, just say into the world before we play a couple games to end the episode. But is there anything about this movie or just like time pressing stuff that you want to mention before we move on?
I do want to say one thing, and this was in my head the entire time, and I am almost like kind of salty at the movie for what I consider to be a criminal underuse of Michael Rooker.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Criminal underuse of Michael Rooker.
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2.
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, or whatever. Criminal underuse of Michael Rooker.
He's great in this. He plays a great character.
He's so good in this. And he is there for so much more. Truly, like, that just kept playing in my head. Every time they showed him and then cut to somebody else, it just made me cry. I just wanted more of him over and over and over again. Yeah. I
think that's very well taken. Also, like, why not? Like, it's not like he's a great actor who's in demand, but it's also, you know, he's not like The Rock, where he is overcommitted. It's just like, he can just bring him back.
Yeah, and also he's not like The Rock, where like, I mean, after Guardians for sure, but I still do think that he's not as recognizable as an off-screen personality as like The Rock is, because you see The Rock and you see The Rock. You don't see like right. You don't see
a character. You see Mm-hmm.
You see The Rock.
You don't see
You still, you know, you're not like watching Guardians of the Galaxy and hopefully not thinking about like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Right? You're just watching Guardians of the Galaxy. So when you're seeing him in F9, you're just seeing him like as a really integral part of someone who took care of Jacob, someone who took care of Dom, someone who was a really important part of this family. I just think there was so much more opportunity for him. And there should always be more opportunity for Michael Rooker in every movie that he's in.
Well, you know, if James Gunn took over the Fastiverse instead of the DC universe, he would not have done his boy Michael Rooker dirty like this. He would have had him
100%
front and center.
Totally agree.
But also the new Superman's great. Okay. Alicia, before we get to a very fun game, there's a couple questions we typically start the conversation with, but we just jumped right into the movie. But I'm going to do 2 now. I'm going to save 2 for the next time you're on, whenever that may be. But there's 2 that... There are no wrong answers, I think, because there are no right answers. These are 2 throwaway lines in the franchise that you might have noticed, you might not have noticed. that we have obsessed over, and we're just looking for answers, and we will never find answers. But in the first movie, if you'll remember back, after they have the barbecue, Brian and Mia are in the kitchen doing dishes and starting to get flirty, and Vince drunkenly comes in and antagonizes both of them, mostly Brian. And Mia says, "Hey, Vince, what's the name of that restaurant you want to take me to? You know, the Cuban place. It's got the red candles, the wood tables, the picadillo, the food all over the place. What's it called?" And he says, "Cha Cha Cha." And she says, "Thanks. Yeah, Brian, you can take me there." She says in that line, "food all over the place." We don't know what this means. Now, Alicia, we say to you, this was so much fun. Next time you're in New Jersey or New York or Connecticut or whatever, we want to take you out. We want to bring you to this restaurant. You're going to love it. There's got these wood tables, these red candles, this picadillo. It's got food all over the place. What does that conjure up in your mind? What do you picture? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it enticing? Is it off-putting? Food all over the place. What does it mean to you?
This is an incredible question. I will tell you my first instinct as you were repeating the line for the first time was that there was literally food all over the walls and floors and table of this restaurant.
Unkempt.
No, just like a food fight. Like classic, I'm at summer camp. There's a food fight. Shit is everywhere. But as that was my gut instinct. But then my second thought was like, no, that would never be a restaurant. There has to be a rational explanation from this. I started to think that it was a menu that had food from all over the world.
Interesting. It's pan-Cuban food.
Whatever it is.
Fusion.
It's like
fusion.
Cuban fusion. Cuban fusion from all over the world.
Interesting.
Although when you say food all over the place, I have the most vivid mental image of food, just like a massive food fight left over in an empty restaurant that people have vacated for the night.
What we picture, I think the most common answer we get is it's just messy. Like it's the first thing you said. But we see them on their date, and there is nothing about the restaurant that implies or gets at food all over the place. It just seems like a normal restaurant.
Or, I mean, I guess now that you're saying, the more you say it, the more like interpretations I'm getting of it, which is interesting, which could be like some of the food is good and some of it's bad. Like it's all over the place.
Oh, also a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit or miss menu. I like
What
that.
a weird fucking line.
We think Jordana just probably made that up, but like she flubbed like the actual line.
And they just like kept it because it was fine. It was a throwaway.
Didn't matter.
Honestly, yeah.
We dreamed to one day ask her what she meant in that moment, and I doubt that she remembers she said it.
No.
It's just going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never said. I have no memory.
We've only interviewed one actor on the show, and it was the woman who plays Sean's mom in Tokyo Drift. And we spent half an hour talking to her about her one scene. And she basically was just like, I don't really remember it. We're like, you mean everything to us. So we don't really want to talk to Jordana Brewster, but like if we do, I only want to ask her about this.
That's the only question you would ask her? I like that, actually.
It's the first question we would ask her, at least.
Okay, Alicia, the other question that I have for you is in the 7th movie, it is a Roman thing. They're around a table and he is talking about how he has saved the family time and time again, over and over again, about, how he did this thing in the 5th movie, on the 6th movie, whatever. He's like, I took that shit out the sky, ba-bow. And Brian says, Roman, the only thing I've ever seen you take down is no knees Denise at prom. And Roman goes, really? And everybody laughs. And he goes, really, Brian? You're going to do that here? And like he's all defensive and hurt. We don't know what no knees Denise means. We have some ideas. We've asked a lot of people. But if you hear someone described as having no knees Joe, no knees Alicia, no knees Denise, what does that mean to you? Again, you asked us before. You can say whatever you want. First thought, best thought. You can censor yourself if need be. I don't want to lead the witness, but what does no knees mean in a name?
Okay, so I'm going to give you two answers because I think it means something in context and out of context. Those two things are different.
Okay.
Like in the context of the line where he says, the only thing I've seen you take down is no knees Denise at prom. To me, that tells me in that context, Roman had sex with a woman at prom who was known from going from 0 to 100. So like no in between stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
No second base. We're going from getting up into the batter's box all the way around to home. So we're not even hitting second base.
Makes sense.
But then so in context, that's what I think. Out of context, if you were just like, this is no knees Joey.
Yeah.
To me, that would be a person who just refused to stand down or bend for anything.
Okay.
So in context it's one thing, out of context, I feel like it's something totally different.
Fortitudinal Joey.
100%. Like, fuck you, Joey. Like, go kick rocks, Joey. Like, I am not leaving here, Joey. I will not bend the knee for anything. But when you add in prom, when you add in takedown, it becomes a totally different thing.
Yeah, the two things, like your first thought, some might say best thought, for each question was, like, we've heard that before, but the menu, the global menu, and a steadfast person are both new ideas.
New ideas. We never heard these.
That is exciting to me.
in a, like, what, 70 times something insane.
Yeah, what have we done? We've asked it's only 34 people about no knees to knees, so that's still a lot of people, and we've asked 38 people about food all over the place.
What a weird lot. I'm going to be thinking about it a lot now.
Yeah,
frankly.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, Alicia, the last thing to do before we say goodnight and say goodbye is to find out which Fast and Furious character you are. Are you ready?
Yes.
So we had found early on a personality quiz online that was fine, but we're like, we can make a better one. So we made a better one. There's 7 questions. Each question has 6 multiple choice answers. You can explain yourself or not. I'm going to read you a question, the 6 answers. Pick whichever one speaks to you or represents you the most. And at the end, we will tell you who you are. Are you ready?
Okay.
Question number 1, how fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Roller coaster.
Question number 2, you know what's coming. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale on that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
I'm gonna go the Hulk.
We're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you on the grill? Are you saying grace? Are you kicking back with a beer? Are you babysitting? Are you being the entertainment, or are you sneaking a snack?
I'm being the entertainment.
You've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or doing some work on your computer?
Probably hanging with friends.
Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
I'm never getting married.
You just won the lottery. Congratulations. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane, I'm gambling it all away, my childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life?
Ooh. Well, a private plane does sound nice in theory. It's so environmentally unsustainable. So I'm going to say my childhood home.
Okay. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just, Joe's going to the bar. Just get me one of whatever you're having.
Oh, God. None of those. So out of those, I guess I'd have to say just get me one of whatever you're having.
Good choice.
Wow. You bounced around.
I didn't even think she bounced around. I thought that there was one that I had locked in my head, and I thought that it was. Please tell me.
She went from being Hattie to Roman.
Yes, Roman was who I thought.
Someone else to Brixton at one point, I think back to Roman, then to Hobbs. But you ended up in a very, very close match. You are Dominic Toretto. Your stoic attitude is intimidating, your cool demeanor under pressure is inspiring, and your expertise under the hood is envied, but all these pale in comparison to your loyalty to your family. You may claim to live your life a quarter mile at a time, but there is nothing you wouldn't do for the people in your life, and at the end of the day, nothing makes you happier than throwing something on the grill and sharing a few Coronas with your familia, and you drive like the wind blows.
I mean, honestly, that's iconic. That is incredible. I love that. I feel honored. I will tell you, I find that to be somewhat like an amusing coincidence because much like Vin Diesel himself, I have been asked many times what my actual ethnicity is because I apparently look ethnically ambiguous, but also much like Vin Diesel, I am just Italian American. So I feel very connected to this on multiple levels.
I love that.
Thank you, guys.
So maybe if you make a short film about your life, then Steven Spielberg will notice you and cast you in Saving Private Ryan 2.
That's my next project.
Very cool. Our next project is Life in the Fast Lane. We're going to talk about the next minute in Tokyo Drift. Sean is finally at school, which is very exciting. Before we wrap up and before we talk to Alicia one more time, I want to give a shout out to our patrons: Alex Ellen and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of Fatherhood, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden Renato, Di Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Chase Rainey, Tom Price, Josh Buckley of Whole Lotta Wolves, Michael Moser, Christian Larson, Tara Newman, Aaron Willows, Natalie Absolute, Randy Carter, Josh Goularm, Alex Walsh, Jack Haley, and Jessica Collins, aka Montez. Thank you all for supporting the $5 a month level or above. Our next episode, we will read your emails, so get those in to family@cageclub.me. But Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. Please come back sometime. Evening. Thank you
guys so much for having me. It was incredible. I am honored.
Are you available anywhere online that you want people to follow you? Is there anything out there you want to promote or plug? Or if no, that's also totally fine.
So I don't think I'm interesting enough that you should follow me, but if you want to do something to both honor the Fast and Furious, honor the time that your two lovely hosts have chosen to spend with me this evening, and take this as my promotion, is just please go see a movie in a movie theater.
Very nice.
An actual movie theater. And if possible, not a chain movie theater. Find your local independent movie theater. Find your local art house. Go watch movies with people who give a shit about movies. And want to watch Tokyo Drift 1 minute at a time, because they are at your independent movie theaters and they also want to talk to you about Tokyo Drift and everything else that you've seen. So please just go to the movies.
I will also talk about this much more next week, but I saw my favorite movie of the year this past weekend, which is Sorry Baby, which is...
Oh, incredible movie!
Absolutely amazing. So go see that, the new A24 release. Ava Victor is incredible, directing and starring in it. My favorite movie, it also reminds me of Showing Up, a movie from 3 years ago that I also love, was my favorite movie of that year. So please go see Sorry Baby. Again, like Alicia said, in an independent movie theater. But Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you back.
Thank you guys so much.
Sooner rather than later. And thank you all for listening. And for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on some of the socials. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com, and our store at cageclub.me/shop. And come back next week for Life in the Fast Lane, number 53. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
That was Dr. Alicia Kozma, and we will tell you all about it
when we see you again.